Hello, sweet friends. It's Tracy. Welcome to another collection video of 25 plus primitive country patriotic crafts and decor. Let's get started. This 1776 American flag caddy turned out adorable. Now I am using two of the cutting boards from Hobby Lobby. I picked them up probably during the fall season. I'm using that little box from Dollar Tree. Also, the spindle is from a sweet friend from a goodie bag that I got on one of the trips that I went on, and I just love it. And I saved it because I was like, I want to save it for a special project, and that's what I'm doing. But I did find these spindles on Amazon. She had told me that she got them off of Amazon, so I'll have a link for those in the description box below as well if you're interested in it. All right, so guys, these little cutting boards are so versatile, and pick them up every time they have them, like when they're clearancing out those for the different seasons. And so I'm going to make these the ends of these an American flag. And so I got my inspiration off of Pinterest. I will have my credit inspiration in the description box as well. And it was just a standalone little flag, but I decided to paint it up and then grunge it up the way that I kind of like it. And so I just used my ruler to kind of draw the lines, and so then painted the red part primary red, the white just white, and then the top part is navy blue, and that's all Americana colors. And I gave them 2 coats each of those colors. And once these paint colors were completely dry, I did give it a good sanding all the way around the edges with my little finger sander. Now, if you do not have one of these, most of us crafters do, but if this is the first time that you're seeing it, you can find these in my Amazon storefront as well. Okay, so then I have my antique wax and just a baby wipe, and that's what I'm going to do to just give it a little bit of antiquing or a little bit of grunge. And then also I had forgot to mention at the very beginning, when I first started with these little cutting boards, you may have seen me use that antique wax that I get from Walmart, and I just did the antique, kind of like a stain on the back of the boards to give it just a little bit of the antique color. Now I'm just taking a wispy brush. I got these from the Dollar Tree and just went around and gave it a little bit more of the grunge, and it just basically adds a bit of distressing. Now for the 1776, I pulled out my stamps. This is from the Letterpress stamp collection, and this is an IOD stamp set, and you have to find an IOD reseller. There are many online, or you can maybe find someone local in one of the shops that sells IOD products. And so, or you can look on Etsy. Like I said, there are many people that do sell IOD products. Okay, so since I needed to reuse that 7, I am just just stamping the 1 and then the 7/6, and then I pulled out a smaller block just to do the other 7. And I'm using Stays On ink. That is a permanent ink, so it won't smear or anything like that, so it'll be permanent. Okay, so then once I finish that, then this is turning out so cute. Then I pulled out some white tin stars. Now I've had these on hand for many years. I've had them in my collection. Sorry, I don't remember where I got those from. But if you don't have something like this, you can use a rusty star, or you can cut something out of some sort of material that kind of mimics this kind of star. All right, so then I just glue all of this together. I'm just using my wood glue, and to my delight, that this box right here and the spindle were the exact same width, and so my spindle fit really good in the hole of that little cutting board, and I'm just so excited to get more of these to use for little projects like this. I hope to find some of these boxes too. I know that Dollar Tree sells different kind of sizes of them, and so I had already taken off the sticker of this box, so it didn't have any like information on it to exactly see exactly which one this is, but it's no sweat. I will just find something else to fit this little spindle once I get those in. Okay, so then you can see here how I have it all together, just like that. Now I'm just taking another wispy brush and just adding a little bit of white, kind of like just doing a little bit of dry brushing just to add a little bit of that color there, break that up, and it just kind of adds to the rustic look of my project. Then to add the foam to the box, I went ahead and cut it down a little bit on the sides so that I am going to be using some of the fine excelsior that I like to get over at the Hobby Lobby, and so that it will go on the side so you don't see the green of the foam. That just really bugs me. Anyway, just to kind of have something to set, because this particular box is slatted, and I wanted a base that was solid, and so I had some of these small rectangle wood planks on hand. They're the Woodpile brand, so I just cut that down so that it would fit in the bottom of my box. Then I put my foam in there, and then this is when I am just putting in my excelsior all the way around. My excelsior is just wonderful. I just love it. It just makes me so happy. Then I just filled my little caddy here with some fun flowers and some pip berries and just some fun just flowers and pip berries, because I just absolutely love the way that this turned out, and I hope that you do too. These sweet American flag pockets are using some brown lunch bags. That's right. I am using the base of my pocket is a brown lunch bag. Just I picked up a pack of these at my local grocery store, and you get like 50 of them in there, so this can make a lot of pockets. I'm also going to be using some fabric as well. I'm going to be using that Mod Podge to adhere that fabric on to my brown bag. Now I want to cut it down just a little bit so that it fits the fabric size that I want. And we're going to be making a sweet little American flag. I'm just going to be using some ticking fabric that I got from Hobby Lobby, as well as that blue star fabric for the stars on the American flag. That is just what I'm going to be using. But first, before I adhere my fabric, I wanted to give my brown bag a little stability. Now, I have had this craft colored cardstock on hand. I ordered it online somewhere a long time ago, so I thought that it would help me to, I'm just going to make a cylinder just to kind of the size of the opening of the bag, and just slip that in there just to give my bag a little form. Then I'm just going to measure out the fabric, tearing it off just to get the ragged edges, and then Mod Podge that on the front and the back so that it is nice and finish all the way around my pocket. So I'm just using a foam brush and just brushing the Mod Podge on all sides of my brown bag, and then I'll just be attaching my ticking fabric. I kind of pull it to make sure that it is straight, because I don't want my stripes for my bag to look crooked. So I just kind of push and pull and just kind of figure out how it all looks really nice on there. And then I just let that dry. That brown cardstock in there kind of gives it that form. And so I had, for the cylinder, when I had did the brown cardstock, I had just pushed it together at the bottom so that it would kind of uh, fit in the bottom of the brown bag, fit in there really nicely. And, it's just had the little tricks that we kind of figure along the way that kind of help us do the little projects. I was inspired by something that I saw on Pinterest. It didn't have any kind of instructions, or it didn't really have a person's name attached to it, but I was inspired to create these little pockets. I don't even know what the creator used. I just kind of was inspired by just the picture, and I said, well, maybe I can do something similar with some brown bags. I will leave my credit for the Pinterest inspiration in the description box. All right, so then for the part of the blue, I just tore off some of that blue stars paper. No, this is not paper, this is fabric. I just tore off a piece of that fabric, ripped around the edges, and then just Mod Podge that up there in the corner so it would kind of mimic the American flag. So the second one that I did is using this fabric. Now I got it from Dollar Tree. In the Crafter Square section, they have just little like fat quarters that are rolled up. And I just coffee stained it and just let it dry. And then I'm going to be using it for another of these American flag pockets. So I'm doing the same thing as I did with the first one. And just measure out the material that I need, Mod Podge that on there, and then add the blue stars for the little stripes there in the corner. So I let my pockets dry overnight. So then I'm just adding a little bit of antique wax to each of the pockets. Now I've done several of these, so you'll see me doing many of them in this like video segment here, because I am going to be selling those at the gift shop that I have my stuff at. So anyway, what I decided to do after I put the distressing on, I just added a little bit of adhesive spray and some snow swirl glitter, just to add a bit of glitter. Now I know some of my friends cringe about glitter, so that is definitely a step that you can avoid if you do not like to do that for your projects, but I love it for mine. So I took my crocodile, my little handy dandy crocodile, and just put some holes in the sides of each pocket so that I could put in some little wire. Now this wire is some that I found on Amazon. I will have a link for it in the description, or it's in my Amazon storefront, and I love it. It's very pliable, and I just wrap that around over on itself so that it will hold there and my pocket will hang nicely. So then now I'm going to start adding some of the items that I want to be in my pocket. So I am going to use a variety of these florals, lots of greeneries. They came from all of my favorite places, Hobby Lobby. I do shop online, lots of online shops, and pick things up here and there, what I think is nice, and I'll look in my craft room and just figure out what I want to do to add to these little American flag posy pockets, and they're just turning out really, really sweet. And friends, I would greatly appreciate it if you would give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. That really tells YouTube that you like my creations. I'm going to go ahead and hand letter some little hang tags that I'm going to be putting on the little posy pockets. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, I did several of these while my hands were dirty and while I had all of the supplies out, because I wanted to have them available, because I'm going to be putting them in the gift shop where I sell my items. So anyway, I'm just hand lettering some tags. These are just little manila tags that I coffee stained, and then I just use my black Sharpie marker, just add my little hand lettering and my little happy dots and all of the distressing with my vintage photo distress ink. Some of them I ripped a little bit smaller because they were the larger tags and I didn't want the tag to be so big, and so then I just add just the distressing around just to kind of give it a little bit of aged. I love just all of that that how it all ties in together. Now I'm just going to be using some different trims, laces and trims, just different ribbon and that just to make a small bow that I'm going to be adding to the side of the posy pocket. And I also use hemp cording or jewelry cording. I love this stuff. It is just kind of just adds just a little bit of texture to my bow, and adding in some fake pearls that I had found in my little laces and trims box, and I thought it was perfect. Now I'm showing you here that I put it on this side, but I really didn't like it, so I went ahead and undid it and then just tied it there to the other side. And for this particular one, that is what works for this particular one that I'm just showing you here that's in the frame. So each creation is individual, and so what I might work for one side may not work for the other, and I just love this so much. Is a Star Spangled Banner decor piece using some of these supplies. I got that flag from Joann's. I got the wood piece from Hobby Lobby. I'm also going to be using a brown bag as the background, and to once I paint my flag, I'm going to be adding this Silly Winks fun foam to the back for the white of the flag. So the first thing that I did is took off the hanger. Now this, I was fortunate to get this wood flag from Joann's a few years ago, but this is just for inspiration of maybe a wood flag or something different that you have that could give you the idea for something that you could do just like this. So the first thing that I did is just took my pen and traced out the flag of what I wanted for the background. Now I just cut that out with some scissors. This, if you are not familiar with fun foam, I love using it. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I love using this fun foam. It comes in many different colors over at Hobby Lobby, and I just love it for dimension and also to add it for just different highlights for my projects. So I just cut it down to size, just kind of showing you there that how it's going to look between there. Now for the red stripes of the flag, I'm just using primary red. That is an Americana color. I gave it 2 coats of that. Then for the blue part of the flag, I just gave it a coat, actually 2 coats of the navy blue, and that's an Americana color as well. And so once I get finished with that, then I'm going to go ahead and add all of my little shading just with my paintbrush and my white paint, and also some highlights with my little doodling brush. And friends, my purpose is just to inspire you to think outside of the box, maybe look at your craft stash and see what you can do with something similar to this. All right, so I'm going to finish up here by adding the details that I like. I can't forget about my paint splatters, guys. I love the country look that it gives to the projects, but if that's not your style, you can totally leave them off. All right, so then to add a bit of distressing on the Silly Winks, I just gave it just taking my little finger dauber and just kind of went over that to get it all look the kind of cohesive with my project. I attached my flag to the fun foam with my Tight Bond quick and thick glue, as well as just gave some dot of hot glue for the Tight Bond. The Tight Bond quick and thick is the permanent hold, and the hot glue is just the instant hold. And then once that was all adhered, I just sanded it just to sand the edges and give it the rustic look that I like for my projects. All right, so then for the decor, I have this sign that I got from Hobby Lobby's clearance sale. I paid $3.74 for it. Love these that have these wood frames around them. Just so cute to repurpose. Now that background was just a little bit too bright for me, so I have found some Dixie Belle chalk mineral paint in the color Drop Cloth. First time using it, and am just going to cover it, the background, with that. Absolutely love that. See so many of my beautiful friends using that, and decided to go ahead and get some for myself. Okay, so then for the background, I'm just using a brown bag. Now this is considered a large brown bag, and I think I had picked up a pack of these over at Walmart. So I just pulled it apart and then crumpled it up. Now, during the course of doing this project, I changed my mind on what I was doing. And so I was just going to be doing it one way, but the end result, I love it so much better. And so what I'm just going to go through the steps of what I did, for if someone doesn't like the end result, that this is what you can do if you want to adhere a brown bag or some sort of craft colored material for a background. Okay, so for the brown bag, I crumpled it up to give it that aged look, or just really kind of messy look. So I just figure out how I want it on there, and just take my Mod Podge and a brush and just brush it on and adhere it, kind of glue it down all the way around. And if I tore off some of those pieces and a bit of the background was showing, I just didn't worry about that. I just took pieces of the brown bag and just glued it on there, kind of Mod Podge, decoupaged on it like that, and it just turned out wonderful. Then once that all dries, then I just give it a spritz of some of the glimmering mist kind of spray that I had on hand in my stash. And then also I added some distressing with my vintage photo distressing. But honestly, when I add the music sheet, that covers all of that up. So, but like I said, if you're not interested in the music sheet, if you want to, if I've inspired you to create a kind of a rustic background, this is how I did it. Just took a paintbrush and some of that vintage photo distress ink, and just gave my flag a little bit more, just highlighting different parts of the white so that it all tied in together. Okay, guys, for the for the Spangled Banner music sheet. Now, this is something that I found on Pinterest. I've used many of these vintage music sheets in different projects here on my channel, but shout out to roseclearfield.com. This is the beautiful creator that offers so many of these vintage music sheets, as well as just other things that she offers on her website. And so, like I said, I found it on Pinterest, and that led me to the website roseclearfield.com. All right, I will have a link for that in the description if that's something that you're interested in. All right, so then I just inserted it into my Word program and just printed it off the size that I want, and then ripped around the edges, tore around the edges to give that jagged edge, because I love that look. Then taking my vintage photo distress ink and giving it some brown kind of grungy look around the edges, just to tie all of the whole project in together. And then I'm just going to be adding I had to print to get the whole music sheet, I had to print it on 2 separate pages to get the look that I want to fit this particular size sign. And so then I just glued it onto the background. So this is where I was saying that, I had done had a different vision in mind, but I absolutely love the way that it turned out. Now, guys, I am new to these IOD molds, and so I have this olive crest mold and the air dry clay. I am not any expert. I didn't even show how I did it because I have lots of learning to do, but there are tons and tons of other creators that do are much more experienced with IOD molds and all of that good stuff that you can find. But what I did is I just took my olive crest mold and my air dry clay and just made a few embellishments for it to add to my sign, let that dry, and I just absolutely love the way that this is coming together. So then once I needed to add my flag to my sign, I needed to give it a little bit of dimension. So just using some tumbling tower blocks and just add that to underneath my flag so that it gives me the dimension I want on my decor piece. And my handy dandy little clips just help hold it in place until it dries. All right, so then to add a small messy bow to the side of the flag, I'm just using a combination of just different fabrics, just tearing them to give the ragged edges. I'm also using some muslin and some cheesecloth. Now I got this cheesecloth at Hobby Lobby in the sewing section. It's already kind of like a dingy color, worked wonderful. And so what I did is I tore off way too many pieces. And so I had to thin down my ribbon little bundle and then just tied on it all together. And then I added some rusty jingle bells as well as a rusty star to the center and then just glue that there to the top of that flag. I took my antique wax by Waverly and just brushed over those embellishments, those IOD embellishments that I put on there, and I love that it gave it just a little bit of an antiquing. Then once that was all dry, I used the Dixie Belle clear coat gloss varnish, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, I am using a few Dixie Belle paint products and really love the way that this shined up this beautiful little decor piece. I know that these mason jar lid flowers have been around for quite some time, but I never really was inspired to create any until I found this bag of lids and toppers from the Goodwill. I paid $1.99 for this whole bag, and I didn't even count how many was in there, but I decided to go ahead and try my hand at those fun flowers that you tie fabric onto. So, full transparency. When I need some inspiration, I turn to my Pinterest boards and try to be inspired. And guys, there are so many ideas out there with these mason jar flowers. And I was looking more for patriotic. And so I kind of narrowed my search down to the patriotic Americana. And guys, I fell upon this pin right here. It was pinned by someone else, but this pin, this creative gingham with the blue stars, I fell in love and I was like, okay, that is what I'm going to do. And this led me to the Twisted Twigs decor over on Etsy. And so I do want to give credit where I got the inspiration. Okay, guys, so the first thing that I did is just take my crocodile and put a hole at the bottom, and then I was going to stick the dowel through there. I had briefly, I don't know, a while back, I had ran across a TikTok or something, and I remember her doing that. So that's why I did that first. But honestly, in the end, I didn't even need to do that. So I'm going to kind of tell you my errors as well as what I liked about this because I made 3 flowers. And so I'm going to tell you what I did to I did my prototype or like my first one, and then I decided nope, I tore my little strips a little too small, so this is my second one. Okay, so I have this gingham fabric I got from Hobby Lobby, and so I tore my strips at 3/4 of an inch. And then what I did is I just ripped the fabric because I like the jagged edge. And so then I cut those strips down to 8 inches. And then that gave me a really good size to tie the knot. It's kind of like a lark's knot that you do like for macrame, I think. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is I'm just gluing that one in place because I didn't want to lose my hole for where I was going to put my dowel in. But honestly, the next one I did, I didn't even use that. So I'm going to tell you what I like better. All right. So to attach my fabric, what I'm going to do is I have this strip of fabric and then I fold it in half and then I'm going to put it around the lid just like that, and then bring those two bottom pieces through there and then make my knot. And so then I continue to do this all the way around the lid, the ring. And I counted them, and on this one I used like 23, but on the last one I used 25 because I didn't even worry about that hole or anything like that, because what I'm going to glue to the back of it, I liked it without even having put it through the hole because my flower stood up more nicer. Okay, so then just to kind of trim off any, like if I get off a little bit, then I just use my pinking shears. That kind of helps with just making it look really nice. So here I'm just cutting the 8-inch strips so that I can continue to tie them on my jar lid or on my little jar ring. And so again, I just bend it over, then just push that through there. And so then I kind of like lay them out like that as I go along. And I guess, as the saying says, the practice makes perfect, because by the third flower that I did with these, I kind of mastered it. And so I figured out the first two were kind of like, that didn't work too good. And then the third one I liked a lot better. Okay, so then I just have a piece of cardboard, and then the lid, I just trace it around because I glued the cardboard to the back. I thought that I needed that to like close it or whatever. But honestly, I didn't even need this cardboard. So anyway, just sharing what works for me and what didn't. Okay, so then for the lid, I'm just going to cut off a square of this blue star fabric, got from Hobby Lobby as well. And so from the difference from the first flower that I did to the second one here, I realized that I wanted a puffier center, and so I have a lot of this stuffing. It like is coming out on the sides, and it almost looks like it's not even going to fit underneath there, but I just keep gluing and pushing it underneath there, and I liked that fluffy center a lot better. And so even on the third one, when I made the center, I added more stuffing, and so I like that it pokes out a little bit more on the third one. And so I share this only to say, if you want a really puffy center, I guess more of the stuffing is needed. Okay, so then here I'm like trying to find the hole, but I got frustrated and wasn't even going to worry about that. So I just stick the lid in there, and with the extra fabric glued on there, it just really kind of had to push, and finally it just like popped in there. And so then here you can see my center is a lot puffier. And so I'm still trying to figure out that I want to put the dowel in there, and that didn't work. And so I just glue it there to the back, and then I was like, I don't know. I was just trying all different things. In crafting, we just try all different things, and some things work and some things don't. So I added some stuffing, and then I was going to glue that cardboard backing. That did not work. And so I took that apart. I'm like, you silly girl, that is just not gonna work, because there's really not a whole lot to stick to. So I just took the dowel, just glued it to the back, and then I just took that piece of cardboard and just glued it on the back. And so yes, that was flower number 2. So then when flower number 3 came around, I learned from what I didn't like in the first two. But before I get to flower 3, I just remembered that I needed to wrap my dowel or my little, yes, my dowel with some fabric. And I just went down as far as this piece did because I'm going to stick it into a little milk can. So you're not even going to see that. But if you wanted it all the way finished, you'll need to do that. All right, so then just to give it a little bit of form, I just got my Stiffen Quick, and it's just a fabric stiffening spray. And I learned from the first one, I had sprayed it entirely too much, and I did not like that. So I only sprayed a little bit on this, on the second one. But here is the third flower that I did. And I have these barbecue sticks. I got these from a local grocery store. They're like a flat, they're not a dowel, they're just like a skewer stick, but they're flat. And so I like that much better. So I'm just wrapping that with some fabric. Then I turn over my flower and I glue it there to the back, just like that with those, with that barbecue skewer stick. I just like that much better. I didn't include any cardboard on the back to finish it up or anything. And I like this much better. This is my third flower. And when I made the center, I made it a lot puffier. Like I pushed and pushed and pushed that fabric fill in there until I got the puffy center the way that I like it. Okay, guys, so this is the first one that I did, and my fabric strips were entirely too thin, and I sprayed it too much with the Stiffen Quick. And so then the second one, I was getting a little bit better, but I wanted my third one to be a little bit fuller in the center. And so third time's the charm, guys. So that's what I would recommend if you've never done any of these flowers. Tear your strips of fabric about 3/4 of an inch, cut them at 8 inches, and then tie them on like a lark's knot, onto the ring. I used approximately 25 strips, and then some fabric fill for the center. And just when you think you're like, oh, there's no way I can stick that much fabric fill in there, yes, you can, and it makes a really puffy center if that's what you like. So this is how I decided to display my flowers. I have this red milk can. It was a Christmas style can. I just took off that pine garland. I think I got this at Dollar General. It had a $4 tag on the bottom. So I can't remember if I got it on sale one year or if I actually paid $4 for it. But knowing me, I may have, only because I loved the milk can. All right, so then I just stuck in some styrofoam, and then now I'm just putting a bit of fine excelsior on there because that is going to be kind of like my moss for my can. Then I have just some different greenery here. Now I was fortunate to find some of this greenery at Hobby Lobby during their clearance for $2.49. So I was really happy to use this. So I'm going to cut a few pieces of that off and then stick my flowers in there. I decided to just put 2 flowers in, and then I'm going to add some of the greenery with the little white flowers that I got from Craft Outlet, and add some of that, and then make a bow. I use 2 1.5-inch ribbons and just make a sweet bow. And then I'm going to put a piece of ribbon around the neck of the milk can, and then I'll attach my bow there on the side. I didn't glue a whole lot of this in, only because I didn't know if I was going to leave it like this permanently or change it out as time goes on. But if this is something that you're interested in and you are selling it or making it for someone special, I would definitely glue everything in so that it's all permanent and looks really cute. project, we are making an American flag door hanger using a wooden heart from Hobby Lobby. Now, I picked this up after the Valentine's season was over, and I thought it would be perfect to create this flag heart with you. All right, so guys, what I did is I just took a yardstick and just measured out about 4 inches down from the top. That is going to be the blue part. Then I measured out the 1 inch sections. That is going to be the red and the white part of my flag. So for the blue, I'm using navy blue, and then for the red and white stripes, I'm using antique white, and then barn red for my colors. These are my favorite of all time. As long as I have been painting in primitive country crafts, I absolutely love these colors. It is my favorite, and those are all Delta Ceramcoat acrylic paints. All right, guys, so then what I did is I gave them probably about 3 or 4 coats because of this particular wood, whatever it is, it was very porous, so it was sucking up that paint. So depending on what wood piece you're using will depend on how many coats you need to give it for a really nice coverage. So I'm just using my flat paintbrush just to go back and just make sure that everything is nice and just looks really, really nice. Now, one could absolutely use like that painter's tape, section that off if you're not really comfortable in painting freehand like this. But guys, I have been painting for over 30 years. I have had my struggles. I have had my trials of messing up, and then I just repaint it. And so I am here to encourage you, to inspire you to, if you want to continue painting, if you want to start painting, that is what you do. Just start. Okay, guys, so once I get all of my paint on there, then now I am just adding my shading with my flat paintbrush. I do some white of the antique white, and then I do my favorite brown that really just makes my projects pop. And so I'm using a flat paintbrush, and my favorite way of shading is a flat paintbrush. Dip half of my brush in paint, the other half in clean water. I blend on a paper towel, and that is how I shade. A lot of people shade differently, and that is okay. It's just finding your style, your niche of what works for you. And I am so glad that you're here. Thanks, guys, for joining in today's video. And if I would love it if you would give this video a big thumbs up, because that lets YouTube know that you like my content. All right, guys. So then now what I'm doing is just adding a little bit of more detail. You will hear me say that in my videos all of the time. The beauty is in the details. And so I add a lot of details to my projects. And so I just took a wispy brush and just add a little bit of just dry brushing on those stripes. Then now I'm taking my black Sharpie marker and then just really defining it a little bit more. I love the country look. I love all of my paint splatters and my squiggles and my happy dots and all of that stuff that just really, really makes me happy. All right, so then how I paint splatter is I use a stiff brush, a stencil brush, and a stick, and I just do some black paint splatters. Then I go back over it with the antique white just to give it that country look that I want. I also use my little detailing brush just to go around the top part of the flag and add a little bit of squiggles around there. Now, for the stars, what I'm using is air dry clay. Now, I found this mold on Amazon. I'll have a link for it in the description box if it's something that you're interested in as well. And even though the air dry clay is white, I went ahead and painted them white, just some white acrylic paint. Then once that was dry, then I just took my baby wipe and some antique wax. This is the Waverly brand. And then I just gave it a little bit of antiquing just to grunge those up a little bit as well. I'm really enjoying just getting familiar with the molds and air dry clay, and really loving how it gives the dimension for my projects. So once all of those were dry, then I just positioned them out at the top, on the top of the blue part of the flag, and then I used my Tite Bond quick and thick glue and a dot of hot glue just to secure those to the top of my flag, and I just think it turned out so sweet. I made a little hang tag, just hand lettered 1776 with my black Sharpie markers. I just doodled it with my little ultrafine Sharpie marker, just did some doodles and squiggles there, and then I made a rag bow just with some laces and trims, and also I did spray it with my spray adhesive and then just sprinkled on my snow swirled glitter just to give it a little bit of character. I just hung it there on the side of that sweet little heart. I had added some Sweet Annie. This is the real stuff, and I found an Etsy seller that had it for sale, and so I ordered a box. So if that's something you're interested in, I would suggest just going to Etsy and type in Sweet Annie and see what pulls up for you, because the last time I looked, she was sold out. And so anyway, maybe ordering some next season, but I think I have enough for now. And I absolutely love the way that this pulls this whole primitive country project together. This project is using an old jean pocket, and we are going to be painting a sweet Uncle Sam on it. Now, this pocket is one that I've had on hand, and it measures 7.5 inches by 6 inches. And I am just going to be painting it in my cute little Uncle Sam. Now, I know that this video may be a little bit fast for you, but that is no problem. I will have links to my Uncle Sam that I made out of an old vinegar bottle, kind of made it up in the vintage look like that, as well as my vintage Santas. I will have links to those if you would like to see a little slower of how I create my faces and all of that good stuff. I also have some other jean pockets that I have created over the years, including some Santas and some snowmen and gingerbread. I absolutely love creating with old jean pockets. And if you are not familiar with it, if that's new to you and you're like, oh my goodness, my husband or my grandfather or something like that has all of these old jeans and I didn't know what to do with them, and you are curious how to take off those pockets, guys, this is how I do it. I just have the jeans. I will leave a link to this, a very short video of how I did it. It shows you step by step how to take it off of there, and there is no sewing involved. All right, so guys, what I'm going to do is just continue to add all of the fun embellishments to my Uncle Sam. I love to use caulking. You can find this in the automotive section or home improvement section or something like that. And I just use a stick just to kind of add as my beard, and I can guide it a little bit better with the stick, so that's what I prefer to do. I'll let that completely dry, and then I'm going to be adding all of the other fun distressing and all of that good stuff. Now, I have many videos here on my channel that shares different painting of cute little whimsical faces. I have been painting for a very long time, and I have found my style over the years. There are a lot of people that visit my channels or leave me comments to say that it looks very old school and looks kind of like toll painting. Yes, that is what I do. And I am so fortunate the Lord has given me these gifts and talents to share here on my channel and to have so many friends to create so many of these fun, whimsical projects with you. All right, so I will just continue to just hand letter America on the brim, add all of the cute little face details that I like to do, and just taking my little detailing brush and just adding some just little mini stars there around, just kind of like around his head. And I just use a little flat paintbrush just to add some cute little eyes. Again, I will have more details in the description box if that is something that you're interested in and learning how to kind of like paint like this or just be entertained and all of that good stuff. Now, you may say, what am I going to do with this? Well, you can put some jute rope on it. You can add a cute little fabric hanger, and it will make a cute Christmas ornament or an ornament like a door hanger or a door knob, you know, something like that. And since it's a pocket, it would be a very cute little uh, gift for someone special. You can add a small gift card in there or a small gift, and it makes a cute little gift bag as well. Now, just to add some more of the details to my little Uncle Sam, I just took my antique wax. That is the one I use so many different products, and I just rubbed that over the beard just to give it the distressed look. And then now I'm just taking my Sharpie marker, just adding a little bit of the black defining. I will have links to my vintage Santa bottles as well as the Uncle Sam bottle. I have an old fence post that I created as an Uncle Sam. I have created and been painting these projects for many, many years, and each one is just so sweet and whimsical. Now, for the little, I guess like mustache or little beard like this, I have some of this very cute yarn that I've had on hand for many, many years. And so I just loop it around my fingers, tie it off in the middle. Then I have my cutter bee scissors that I like to use. They're very sharp and they're kind of have a small little blade on it. And then I just run it through the loops and just cut those so it gives me the fluffy little mustache like that. Now for the nose, I just used a 15 millimeter split wood ball and just glued that there. And then just to give it a little bit of sparkle, I am adding some little spray adhesive and some snow swirled glitter to my little Uncle Sam, and he just turned out adorable. Again, you can use these for small little gifts. You can tie a fabric hanger on it, or you can use them as little dough bowl fillers for your primitive country home. This vintage truck floral decor using one of those metal trucks from Hobby Lobby. Guys, this turned out adorable. I am just so happy the way it turned out. Now, this truck again is from Hobby Lobby. They seem to have them every year, and maybe Michael's or maybe Joann's as well. But I am just here to inspire you, just to entertain you of how I created this patriotic decor that will last you all summer. All right, so I filled the back of the metal truck with just some floral foam. And then now I'm just covering it with some fine Excelsior. These beautiful red poppies came from Michael's, and so I'm going to trim those down. I'm going to be adding those to my decor. Those are going to be my focus florals for this arrangement. Now I just start adding in my greenery, these beautiful greenery. It's some of my favorite that comes from Hobby Lobby. And guys, I am just here to inspire you, to entertain you, to just really kind of think outside the box. That floral arranging is not that hard. I am by no means a professional. I have just found kind of what works for me, and I'm here to inspire you to create as well. So I add a lot of wispy greenery, then I'm going back in with some kind of like ivy looking greenery that comes from Hobby Lobby as well. And guys, I get my florals anywhere like Hobby Lobby, Walmart, Michael's, Joann's. I have a lot of online resources that I do purchase beautiful greenery and florals from. I have those resources linked in my link tree if that's something that you're interested in checking out for yourself. So I'll just continue to add and just build my decor as I go along. And so then I just start adding in my florals and then all of the other little embellishments and greenery, florals, just all the different colors and the textures just really brings your floral arrangement to life. thing, guys. I cannot forget my pit berries. I absolutely love these berries. Now, they come on a garland at Hobby Lobby. They have them all of the time in the garland section. And so they're on a strip. They're just wrapped around. So I untwist them and then use them as individual picks for my country projects. And I just love how they just add that bit of primitive country to my arrangements. I love to use them also in a lot of my wreaths and then just other creations that I love to do. All right, so then guys, here are kind of like the stars of my arrangement. These little gingham stars came from Hobby Lobby in the 4th of July Patriotic section. And so I just have some skewer sticks, and instead of painting them, I'm using some red and white polka dot washi tape and just wrap that around just to give it some color. And so then these little stars are styrofoam, so I just stick them in the bottom of the star and then just stick that skewer in there. I just added, just to get a little hole started, I added a hole just with my paper piercer, just my little poking tool. And then I just added it to my arrangement. And guys, I just love how this is coming together. All right, so then for the simple bow, I just have these pieces of ribbon and I cut them first at 20 inches. And so then I'm going to just be making a loop and then just gathering it there in my hand and then just kind of offsetting them a bit. Then I just take a zip tie those together, and then I'm going to dovetail the ends of each of the ribbon just to give them just the finished look. Now, to add it to the side of my truck, I just used a floral pin. This is U pins that I love to use for my floral arrangements. Just add that to the side of my truck there, and it just really kind of gives that bit of a whimsy with that bow right there. And lastly, Hobby Lobby has these blue looking berries that are perfect for many little blueberries for our patriotic arrangements or summertime arrangements. And they have them all of the time in the floral section. So definitely get those when they have those on sale. And I absolutely love the way that this vintage truck turned out. Guys, when I took it to the gift shop that I do sell my floral designs and other creations at, it was snatched up almost immediately because the person fell in love with it and I hope that they enjoy it for many years to come. These vintage style firecrackers are recycling or upcycling some core tubes that come off of my 10-inch deco mesh rolls. Now, when I do wreaths, I have a ton of these rolls, and I decided this season, to keep them so I could make some firecrackers out of them. So let me show you how I did it. Okay, I got these napkins at Hobby Lobby, and it has a pack that has red and white, and then the blue with the white stars on it. So for the core tubes, they're each a little bit different as far as how big they are through the center. And so what I did is I just took my serrated knife and just cut those in half so that I could have 2 of those. So I ended up with 8 of the fireworks for this project. Okay, so this napkin is a 2-ply napkin, and so I didn't have to paint it white. I just left the second ply on there. I did not take it apart. I wanted these stripes to go vertical, so I figured out where I needed to cut it, then just cut that napkin down with my scissors. Very easy peasy. And then I'll use some Mod Podge to adhere the napkin to the bottom part of the tube because the blue with the white stars are going to go at the top. So then once I get all of the red and white napkin and the blue, I added this cute little stuff right here. That is what I'm going to be working on for my little whimsical firecrackers, kind of in the vintage theme, because I added some laces and that kind of thing with the tag. Now, these pit berries are something that I use a lot in my projects. I get them off of a garland. At Hobby Lobby, I twist them off of the little grapevine thing that you see there. I'm going to be using that as well. That is going to be my wick. And then I wanted the whimsical part of the pit berries for just to be like the sparkle of my firecracker here. I'm also going to be using some of the fine Excelsior that I also get from Hobby Lobby, and then to grunge it up just a little, just to give it, just take a little bit of that white and red where it's not so bright with that. I just use my vintage photo distress ink and my finger dauber just to give it a little bit of the brown look that I like. And so again, like I said, that what I'm sticking in there, that's kind of like the wick, and that is recycled from those pit berries. When I take them off of a garland, they're individual picks that are wrapped around that, and I'm just using that to my advantage and just sticking that in there and just gluing it. I know that this tube is hollow, and so there's not a whole lot to like substance for it to stick, but everything's sticking on its own. I'm just making these for myself, and I thought that I would share how I did it. I'm gonna add some adhesive spray and some snow swirl glitter just to give them a little bit of sparkle, and I just like that for my projects, but that is definitely optional. All right, so then now I'm going to make a small tag for my each of one of my fireworks. I'm going to use Boom and USA, and I had hand lettered first, and then I was like, oh no, I want a little background. So I pulled out a couple of stamps that I had in my stash, and one is kind of like a signature. There's really nothing that it says, and the other one is actually like a paint splatter. And so I'm just taking my black Sharpie marker and just hand lettering Boom, and then also USA, and then I just make 4 tags. Since I did 8 fireworks, I'm just doing those all at one time, and just adding the distressing that I like the age look by just ripping them, just giving them the age look by tearing the edges, giving some distressing with my vintage photo distress ink, and then I'm going to crumple them up and then add them to the side of my little firecracker. I also go ahead later and also give them some adhesive spray and a little bit of glitter. I'm using some hemp cording and just some laces and trims. The fabric I'm using is a muslin, and so those laces and trims and that muslin gives it that vintage feel that I like. And for my vintage style firecrackers. For this God Bless America USA woodcraft, I'm starting with this USA shape. Now, I think I got this from Joann's a few years back when they were clearancing them out, but this is just an idea if you have a USA shape and want to use this technique. I'm going to be doing some napkins, and I'm going to be using this God Bless America sign that I got from Hobby Lobby. Okay, so the first thing that I did is give the the background of the USA coat of white paint. And then once that was dry, then I went ahead and gave it a layer of Mod Podge because I'm going to be ironing on those napkins. Now, like I said, those napkins came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to be using 2 of the red and white as well as 1 of the blue for the stars up in the corner. So first I just make sure that my Mod Podge is all dry, and then I'm going to start pulling apart the plies of my napkins. Now, I saw this trick from another creator. They took a piece of Scotch tape and put it on the back layer and then pull it up. It kind of helps pull those layers, those plies apart a little bit easier. So I just wanted to share that tip, pass that along. And so, like I said, I am using 2 of these red and white napkins because 1 was not long enough. So I just took my little Cricut Easy Mini Press and just pressed out any of the wrinkles. I had to be very, very careful not to snag or tear the napkin. I carefully laid out my napkin on my USA, making sure that I had it over the entire piece from the top of Washington all the way down to the tippy or the bottom tip of Texas. And so then I'm just trying to line up my stripes, kind of finagling it just to get the best way to do that. And so I take a piece of a parchment paper and my little Cricut mini press. This is just my little mini iron that I use to do my little projects like this. And this is called the Mod Podge heat transfer method. If you're not familiar with that yet, you put your Mod Podge on there, let that dry, and then take your, like I'm using a napkin here, and then a iron. I'm just using my Cricut mini press just to do that. And then I just kind of do it in sections, just make sure that I go all the way around, get around those edges really well, because I want this napkin to stick around or stick to it around the sides. And so then for that second napkin, I just line it up the best way that I can. And so then I just take my little iron and then piece all of that together and just make sure that I cover all of the states up at the top, get all the way up there at Maine, and then make sure that Florida is covered as well. So this next step is the burn method. And so I just want to say proceed with caution, because this may like scare some people, but honestly, I was very in control of this. I wish I would have cut a little bit more of that napkin off. Because the less that you have, the better it gets. And so I am just going to be, just take my little lighter and just start. I wish I would have cut a little bit more of that off, but I was really in control. I'm like, oh, yikes, I don't want this to get away from me, which I was honestly in control. I don't want anyone to freak out and leave me a nasty comment. I was really in control. Nothing was, I wasn't going to catch my craft room on fire or anything like that. And so, like I just mentioned, I wish I would have cut a little bit more of that napkin off. But it just kind of fizzles out on its own. I had some water nearby, but this is something that is really good if you have a like a piece of wood or something like that that you want to Mod Podge a napkin onto. This little burn method just gets in those little bitty nooks and crannies and gets all of those pieces off of there. But again, make sure that you proceed with caution, because I don't want anybody to, harm or catch anything on fire. All right, so then now I'm going to add the blue part of the napkin. And so I had taken off the back part, the 2-ply of the napkin. Well, then I could see my stripes through there. So then I was trying to finagle it the best way that I could. And so I ended up painting the blue part and then Mod Podging the napkin on there. Well, that kind of like faded out my stars. So then I ended up layering on the napkin again and just doing Mod Podge over the top of it. And that just worked really good. I mean, this is just really a hand created piece. Every piece that I do is individual, and I just put my own little, my own little spin on just different things. So here I'm just penciling out the section that I'm going to want to paint, and I just have some primary blue paint and just paint that, and then I'll go back later and add napkin on top of that. This has like 3 different napkins on it, but hey, it works for me. Whew, finally got that blue part on there the way that I like it, and I'm satisfied with it. All right, so for the God Bless America wood piece, I came from Hobby Lobby, and so I just painted red, white, and blue. I added some polka dots to each of the letters, either with the end of my paintbrush or a stylus. Makes the perfect polka dots. I just dip it into the paint, and that leaves my polka dots pretty consistent if I do it like that. I'm going to add all of my little whimsical touches that I like as far as the dots and some squiggles. I'm going to be adding some vintage some antique wax to the stars just to kind of give those brown look, just a brown look. And then also for the shading, I just took my vintage photo ink and just went around each of the letters just to give it a little bit of distressing. And then for the blue and the red, I just took my white ink pad and just went around it. And I'm just using a little finger dauber for that. I also add my little squiggles and then also my black Sharpie marker, which I like to do. I like to outline my crafts because I like that. It just really kind of makes my painted projects pop. And then also what I'm going to do is just add some white stars. They're like rusty stars, but they're white. I've had them on hand for many, many years. I'm not quite sure where I got those because I just had them in a plastic container and I thought that they would be perfect for this little piece. And so then I give everything a good spray with my polyacrylic spray, and then I just glue the wood piece to my USA wood shape just with my Titebond quick and thick glue, and then just some hot glue. And this piece I just love it so much, and I hope that you do too. Sometimes we are lucky and find these cute signs in the store that we can just add some ribbon and a bow to and make it extra cute. So I had this sign. I picked it up at Michael's a few years back in their Patriotic Americana collection, and I thought that I would use one of these sign extenders from Deco Exchange to put some ribbon, some mesh, and some cute ribbon on it and just make it a door hanger. So I'm starting with a sign extender. Now these can be found over at Deco Exchange. They're from Sincerely Creative Mom. If you are following her, she and Deco Exchange teamed up and have these sign extenders available, and they are just a great way to add just a little bit of length to a sign just like this, or something else that you may have that you want to add a little bit of length to. So I took the glue and E6000 as well as hot glue and glued that down. I let that sit overnight, actually for a few days, because I went and moved on to another project. I wanted it to really bond to that. Then now what I'm doing is just adding some pipe cleaners in between those holes. And once I start putting on my mesh, I discovered that I want to add a few more pipe cleaners. And so that's what I do. So I have this 10-inch deco mesh. Now this came from Joann's, and I love the country, whimsical colors of it and everything. So I'm cutting it at 12 inches. I don't want it to, the sign for me is the focal point of the whole door hanger, and so I just want to accent it. I don't want it to be overbearing like a big wreath or anything like that. So I cut these at 12 inches, and then I use the cruffle technique. And if you are not familiar with the cruffle technique, you just roll over each end, curl it, gather it in the middle, and then just I use a clamp to help me with that. Just roll it over the ends, then gather it in the middle, and then I just offset them a tad so that I can get the deco mesh in there. And so I ended up using a total of 5 pipe cleaners, and then I add that to my sign, and I just love how this is looking so far. So this 2.5-inch blue with the star ribbon also came from Michael's, and what I did is I cut that about 10 inches, and I'm sorry, it's just a little bit off out of the frame, but I cut that at 10 inches. I did not want it to be too overbearing for the sign. As I mentioned, I want the sign to be the focal point. I just wanted to add some mesh and ribbon just to give it a bit of just an extra touch for the sign. So then this red and white gingham ribbon is one of my favorites. It comes from Hobby Lobby, and I cut that at 10 inches as well. Then I dovetail each one of those, and if you're not familiar with dovetailing, you just bend over the edges and then cut it at the V, or cut it at the end to make a V, and it really makes a nice end for your ribbon tails. So I'm going to put this in each one of these ties. So I have 5 ties. So I have 5 of these sets of ribbon that I'm going to be adding to each one of these ties. These, well, I call the ties, but just the pipe cleaners, and then just kind of fluff out that ribbon as I go along. And then for an extra bit of a country whimsy, I pull out my sisal twine that I got from Hobby Lobby. I make several like small bows of those, just doing some loops, tying them off in the middle, and then I just add those to each one of my ribbon bundles just to add a bit, just some extra texture to my ribbon bundles. And then I'm going to make a bow for the top. I just cut, several pieces of ribbon for that, just crisscross them, make one of those sisal twine bows as well. And then I just add that to the top of my sign there in the corner using some glue and my stapler. these are just standard size vegetable cans that I cleaned out, ran them through my dishwasher. Now I have a smooth edge can opener that doesn't leave any sharp edges or anything like that. I will have the one that I use listed in the description box if it's something that you're interested in finding how you can have a can opener and it has these smooth edges so that you don't have any sharp parts on it. All right, so what I did is I just gave them each a coat of Dixie Belle cotton white chalk paint, let that dry. Then I'm going to cut my napkins. Now these napkins came from Hobby Lobby, and so I'm doing my little trick that I picked up from another creator with napkins is just take a piece of Scotch tape and put it on the end of that kind of in the corner, and it'll peel off the back of that napkin really nice. And so then I'm just left with the top layer of the napkin. And so I give it a layer of, or just put some Mod Podge on there. And then I'm going to start working in sections, just smoothing it down as I go along. I lift up that one part right there. So, cause it's going to meet around the back side and I want the blue and white stars to be on top. So I just put a layer of Mod Podge on there and then just kind of, once that's all dry, then I will go back over it and put a finishing layer of Mod Podge on it once my napkin is completely dry. For my cans, I just cut down some styrofoam and set it in there. Before I did that, I did go out in my driveway and just get one rock and put it down in the bottom of that can because I wanted to have just a little weight. They weren't as top heavy as I thought it was going to be. I didn't want them to tip over very easily. I didn't have to worry about that. But if you weight it down or weight your cans down a little, it will help with that. All right, so then I'm going to be using some Excelsior as well as some greenery. Those both came from Hobby Lobby, and I just love how this little guy turns out. I just love his sweet little face. And so that's what I did. First is just put some Excelsior on top of that. Then I just start putting in my greenery, and then I'm just going to be adding the little gnome, these little metal gnome, like little yard, I guess they're little yard stakes. I've had them for a few years and haven't really done a whole lot with them. And so then when my sister was asking me, hey, do you have anything that you can put? Of course, it's the customer appreciation is this week. And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to put together? I was like, well, yeah, I'll put something together because, you know, God always help my sister out. And so I just put these little arrangements together, just putting them in there. And I cut down those little yard stakes just a tad so they wouldn't be too tall. And then those little flowers, those little daisies and the little red daisies actually came from Amazon. And if you like those, I will put the link for those in the description box because I love putting those in my little arrangement. It just really just adds a little bit of floral touch without having a really big flower bush in it. And so I'll just continue to work on my little arrangements and yeah, I just love how they turned out. I added some glittery stars as well as some glitter balls. I just stuck in either some skewer sticks or toothpicks, just something that would hold it together, and glued those where I saw fit and just added those to the little arrangement with all the cute little gnomes. They just are so precious, just holding their flags or just beaming with American pride. For for the cute little signs, I painted up this pack of wood slats that I had on hand. It got these from the Dollar Tree. There were 6 in them. They were just thin little wood slats, and I love to do this. I did this for years when I was doing craft shows, and they just made perfect little ornaments, just a little sign just to give to someone special. And so I hope that I am inspiring you to create some for yourself for a different season. These are just in the patriotic theme, but this is great for Christmas and for all different kind of holidays and all of that good stuff. All right, guys. So what I did is I have 6 of these little slats, and I'm going to give it a base coat of drop cloth. That is a Dixie Belle paint. And then for the border, I'm just using blue as well as primary red. I'm going to be just painting and then just adding some hand lettering. And if you are unsure about hand lettering, you can always use stickers. You can cut something out on like your Cricut, your die cutting machine. You can use stamps, anything that will give you some sort of lettering so that you can spell out different phrases or names of different people in your family. These little signs are so versatile and just so stinking cute. Adding some hand lettering with my acrylic black marker, and just putting my little happy dots and all my little paint splatters and all of my little squiggles and all of that good stuff. And so I just love hand painting, and I just love creating little things like this. And I hope that these little signs, whoever wins them, will enjoy them for many years to come. I'm also going to add some ribbon and trims. Just add just a little small bow. I'm going to add some blue and red, just different wire. I had just used my crocodile just to put in a little hole so that I could get the wire through there and just make a cute little hanger out of them. And like I said, I hope that the person, whoever gets it, will enjoy it for many years to come.